The COVID-19 is harming the global economy. It is probably the most difficult economic situation since World War II.
What's happening? Because of the lockdowns, travel restrictions to contain the virus, business is coming to an abrupt halt globally, and it's not a question of whether there will be a global recession. The question is how deep it will be and how long it will last.
The economic downturn started in China this quarter. The economy will contract for the first time since 1976 at the end of the Cultural Revolution. The Europe and the US will follow with a delay of a month of two given that pandemic started later there. But the spread of the pandemic is picking up speed and causing more economic damage.
For example, a member of the US Federal Reserve said in the second quarter, US unemployment would be 30%, and the US economy would shrink by half. In other words, half of the US economy would disappear, at least for temporarily. It is the worst that no one has ever experienced anything like this in their entire life.
Will the aviation and airline industry survive? The pandemic is causing unprecedented crisis in the airline industry. Thousands of passengers are going nowhere because some of the world's best-known airlines have grounded their entire fleets. And when the crisis is eventually over, industry experts expect major changes and perhaps cheaper fare. International seat capacity has dropped by almost 80% from a year ago, and half the world's airplanes are in storage. New data shows suggesting the aviation industry may take years to recover from the coronavirus pandemic.
Carriers including United Airlines Holdings Incorporated and Air New Zealand Limited have warned they are likely to emerge from the crisis smaller, and there are fears others may not survive. Data firm OAG, or the official airline guide, said that several years of industry growth had been lost and it could take until 2022 or 2023 before the volume flyers returns to the levels that had been expected for 2020. Cirium, another aviation data provider, said about half of the world's airplane fleet was in storage.
Plane makers are looking at drastic cuts in wide-body production amid a slump in demand for the industry's largest jetliners, manufacturing, and supplier sources. Airline industry executives around the world have called for the state support now that the passenger operations are collapsing at an unprecedented rate and governments scrub travel drastically. The United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization called on governments to ensure cargo operations are not disrupted to maintain the availability of critical medicine and equipment such as ventilators and masks that will help fight the virus.
Why should normal people care? There's a risk that you could lose your job since businesses were all shutting down. That means they don't have income to support their workers, which will lead to a domino effect on the rest of the world. If one business stops and shuts down, the other will be affected from ordering the goods they need from one another and so on. Furthermore, people's livelihood, their ability to earn money, their ability to pay for basics like food, like we're all at risk in a few months. Let us just frugal and know that the government is trying to help and will came to help, but you need to hunker down and save your money at the best that you can because it's going to take a number of months for this to resolve itself.
In line with this, the subject can be an efficient way to give help for the pandemic that we are facing right now. Especially the frontliners would benefit. Since we are all avoiding the spread of the deadly virus, we don't want to have any physical contact with them or those things that they have touched. An example of this was the pump alcohol that we may use sensor-based circuits, such as proximity and laser or light detection to dispense the alcohol or sanitizers. One application of this is from our previous lesson of the LDR, or the light-dependent resistor. If daylight falls on LDR, then the LDR will be having very low resistance, which is about the same principle as the light sensors.
In order to activate them, there must be something that would block the light from the sensor face. Hence, the power supply passes to the ground through LDR and resistor. This is due to principle of current low resistance path. Automatic touch-free sensor pumps make sanitizing hands so easy. Furthermore, we can help prevent the unwanted or indirect transmission of the virus through the things that we touch often. This would help our frontliners avoid contact with other person. We are facing a battle that is unseen, so we need to be careful who might be the one carrying the virus. In the same way, it can protect those vulnerable people who we give importance.